Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a how-to video of how to design characters, keeping in mind general things like shape design, outline design, color scheme, and purpose of character. The first thing you want to start out with is a basic sort of shape of what you're going for. This can help a lot when it comes to certain details about your character. It helps give them a vibe. Based on this type of outline, you can tell that the character I designed probably has a more structure, more sturdy, can take on hits very well, big guy, probably pretty tall. That's the type of character design you can tell by using squares as your design. Meanwhile, circle designs tend to be used for more cute, cuddly characters, like this little Kirby right here, and spikes tend to be used for more, evil, bad characters. It's just how shape design kind of works. Next step is to oftentimes build a sketch or a silhouette based off of the sketch that you have created of basic shapes. This is where you can start to more personalize, add some more curves. You don't have to be as structured or as, sort of like this when you're doing the sketch. Now, like I said before, this is a quick sketch. It's not very detailed. I did add some small features like this and this, and I made these obviously more curved. I added a tuft of hair for detail and type of this. And once you're done with this, that's where you get to sort of creating a sort of silhouette of your character, along with dealing some of the little details. Now, when it comes to a silhouette, obviously, and the strings here to sort of add on to the character design. But a thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to silhouettes is that you want it to be distinguished. That is what makes a good silhouette a good silhouette. Now, for this case, this character is green. That's perfectly fine for this type of situation. This character can be, sort of easily, sort of seen in a crowd. Now, something I want to mention when it comes to silhouettes is a perfect example is Team Fortress 2, purely because of the fact that each character, 9 classes of the game, despite being in clearly a very similar art style that at least tries to keep its humans looking a little realistic, has defined silhouettes for all its characters because this is a first-person shooter and you need to know who you're shooting at if you want to do well, and the faster you can do that, the better character design, which is why these are like some of the pinnacle of character design when it comes to designing a silhouette. Now, something I want to talk about when it comes to color scheme is 2 very simple things. Number 1, you have to keep in mind the purpose of your character and the environment they're going to be in, especially dealing with visual media. A good example of this is having this green character here be in this sort of green background would not be a good idea because of the fact that he blends into that green background. It's just not very well, and it even applies when you remove the type of thing. Then again, that can be changed when you have more color diversity, for example, this suit here. But this green character would probably be more suited for a more red environment. Of course, this can't always apply to all pieces of media, but for this one, if it's a single piece, you might want to tailor the environment so it sort of contracts your main figure more than blends in with it. Now, something else that happens with color scheme is often our perception of a character changes depending on what color you have. This is the sort of same outline, I just had the eye color different, and from going from a sort of, I could imagine this being like a sort of protagonist side character, you go to a, sort of minion villain character, because the sort of tone of color changes as well. And as well, if you notice, this red character doesn't really suit well in this red environment, meanwhile he stands out a lot better in this green environment. That's simply just how character design works when it comes to color scheme. Now, something else to notice about color scheme is that this is the fully designed character. I tend to keep the colors very similar, and that is because, in general, that's just the best way of keeping these characters in line. And that's something else you want to keep in mind when you're designing characters like these. You want the colors, at least for something simple like this, to be sort of similar in concept and not have too many contrasting colors. You can have it, and it is recommended, to have certain contrasting colors, like here in the eye, but that is just because of the fact that that helps the design pop more. You don't want everything to be like one blob mess like this. because even though the silhouette has a purpose of defining shape, it still does not detract to the actual character design when it comes to color scheme. Now, something that should be kept in mind is over designing a character can be a lot difficult because it comes to the purpose of the character. The first thing you need to keep in mind when designing a character is the purpose of that character. Is the character a protagonist? Are they a villain? Are they going to be in red areas? Are they going to be in green? Everything you have in mind, like what personality the character might have, or like what you're searching for when it comes to that character, can all be brought down to sort of character design. Remember, the first thing we did was sort of begin a structure of shape. That is why that's the first thing we did, because I wanted a bulky, strong looking dude, which is why I created a more square-based design. And then from there, I was able to create a more defined silhouette, and then from there, I was able to design that silhouette to have a more peaceful looking color scheme. And that even though he is, a big bulky guy, it's clear that he's probably a protagonist. He's probably on our side. And that's the type of things you have to consider when it comes to character design. So, in summary, the steps are quite simple. Number 1, get a basic design with shapes, most likely triangles, circles, and squares, to determine how your character is going to basically look. Then number 2, do a basic sketch of the design, keeping in mind the silhouette and keeping in mind how that silhouette's going to look. Number 3, most of the time, this is completing the silhouette, which is most of the time doing stuff like the line work. Here's the actual line work and that type of thing. And finally, the final step is coloring in the character based on the purpose of the character, and what environment they're in, and all that fun jazz. So yeah.